If you try to buy a Lumix camera in India right now, the experience is difficult. You will find Sonys and Canons and Nikons. You will even find a Fujifilm if you're lucky and the store owner has taste. But when it comes to Lumix, it's often one model or maybe two, sometimes none. And if you ask about it, the response is hesitant. We can order it. Not many people ask for it. Which is odd, because Panasonic has been making some of the most interesting hybrid cameras in the past few years. Cameras that are practical, balanced, and perfect for content creators. And yet, in India, they feel almost invisible. It's not that Lumix cameras don't exist here, they do, but they don't feel present. And when a brand is hard to find and barely marketed, most people simply move on. A strange situation. Let me tell you what it's like to try and buy a Lumix here. You start online, you go to the usual suspects, Amazon, Flipkart, and maybe a few dedicated camera retailers, and you will find the same models. The G series micro four thirds cameras have a reasonable presence. Some kit lenses, okay, fine. But when you go looking for something like S5 II, the mirrorless full frame that reviewers have been raving about for the past 2 years, you start to notice something. The listings are sparse, the prices are sometimes higher than what you would find importing one yourself from the grey market. The warranty situation is murky enough that you start reading forum posts at midnight, cross-referencing serial numbers, wondering whether Panasonic India will even service it. And that is not a good place to be when you're trying to spend some money on a camera, which is not a very casual decision. People want to research, compare, try ergonomics, check lens availability, and talk to someone who understands the system. When that doesn't work, buyers naturally gravitate towards other brands. You rarely see demos or creator partnership or pricing strategies. Even online, listings can be inconsistent. Some models appear, disappear, then reappear again. It creates uncertainty, especially for the first-time buyers. Lumix doesn't feel like an active player in the Indian market, even though globally they're releasing good cameras. If someone is curious about Lumix, the path from curiosity to purchase feels longer and less clear. That alone can discourage interest. Why Lumix matters? What I'm trying to say is that Panasonic is making some of the most interesting hybrid cameras available, and interesting matters. Let me give you examples. The S5 II. For years, one of the main criticism of Panasonic full-frame cameras was autofocus. The S1, the S5, they used the DFD system, and while it worked well in controlled conditions, it struggled with fast-moving subjects. The S5 II added face detection, and suddenly that issue was solved. Its video capabilities are impressive at this price. Proper 6K open gate, 10-bit 420, internal recording, and Panasonic's color science V-Log, the LUT integration, is actually beautiful once you get the hang of it. It looks warmer, more filmic, and less clinical than Sony's S-Log by default. For anyone shooting narrative work, short films, small commercial projects, the S5 II is a camera you can rely on. The original S5. It's older now, but it's worth mentioning because you can sometimes get it at a discount, and it's a reasonably capable camera still. Dual native ISO means it handles low light with perfection, which makes shooting Indian weddings very manageable, where lighting conditions are not always optimal. If you are a wedding filmmaker in India and you haven't looked at the S5, you're missing out. The S9. This one is different. It's compact. It's the smallest full-frame L-mount camera. It doesn't have a viewfinder, which will immediately disqualify it for some, and I understand that. Shooting under direct sunlight is not always a pleasant experience. But the S9 has something clever. It is designed around the idea of content creation. It has a USB-C port that streams directly. It has a built-in LUT application, so you can shoot a finished image without needing to color grade. For a solo creator who doesn't have a colorist or a post-production pipeline, that's very useful. The problem is, most Indian creators who might love the S9 don't even know it exists. And then there is the micro four thirds bodies, the GH6, the GH92. The GH series has a long history in the filmmaking communities. The GH5 was practically a cult product among indie filmmakers. The GH6 and GH7 improved that even further. And micro four thirds as a system has a few advantages. Smaller lens, lighter rigs, longer telephoto reach for the same focal length. For wildlife photography in India, which is significant, this is a country with incredible diversity. The reach advantage of micro four thirds is worth a serious consideration. But again, the conversation isn't happening the way it should be. What's missing in India? Let me be specific about what is actually missing. I don't want this to turn into a complaint video. The first thing missing is hands-on availability. This sounds obvious. People don't buy cameras the way they do headphones. You don't add it to cart after watching a couple of videos. You hold it in your hand, you feel the shutter, you navigate the menu, you check where the buttons fall under your thumb, you decide how it balances on a tripod. Sony and Canon understand this. Their demo units are everywhere. They work with camera stores to ensure floor presence. Their menu systems are familiar because people have used them before. When a camera stays behind glass or only exists online, it loses half the sale before it starts. The second thing missing is warranty confidence. I've talked to people who wanted to buy a Lumix S5 II in India and backed out because they couldn't get a clear answer about what Panasonic India warranty actually covers. Does the service center in the city know how to repair it? product? Is the firmware support comparable to what is available internationally? These are reasonable questions, and when you can't get a straight answer, you go buy a Sony where you know exactly what you're getting into. Panasonic India needs to make these answers easy to find. The third thing missing is marketing catered to Indian creators. Panasonic's global marketing for Lumix has become extremely good in the last couple of years. There are short films, there are videos about philosophy behind the design. They are confident about their product as they should be, but almost none of it is localized or adapted for the Indian market. There are no partnership with prominent Indian YouTube creators. They do have a Lumix ambassador page in India, but it's not heavily marketed. There is no consistent review ecosystem like Sony or Canon. This is one of the reasons I started this channel. I thought more people should start talking about Lumix. Fujifilm, for comparison, has built a community in India. There are meetups, there are Indian photographers who will rave about those cameras with a kind of loyalty that no ad campaign can buy. And the fourth thing missing is pricing that acknowledges the market. India is a very price sensitive market, and that's the structural reality of it. And premium camera bodies from any brand require justification. The S5 II at the current grey market or import price is competitive, but if it is priced higher than equivalent Sony or Canon bodies because of import duties or thin distribution margins, or if it is unclear what you are actually paying for, people will choose the path of least resistance. I'm not asking Panasonic to sell at a loss. I'm asking them to localize the infrastructure that makes the price feel fair. Why this should change? India has a growing creator base. Video creators and photographers are experimenting with content, and people are moving away from phones to dedicated cameras. This is exactly the audience Lumix cameras are designed for. What people choose right now will shape the next generation of creators coming up. This is how Canon built its reputation in India. This is how Sony did it. They got into the hands of people who would teach others, who would be visible at workshops and events, who would answer forum questions. Panasonic still has the time to do it, but not unlimited time. There's also a specific argument to be made about video-first content creators. Photography is still dominant in India's camera market, but the shift towards hybrid use is growing fast. Wedding filmmakers, YouTube channels, branded content creators, this is where the energy is shifting. And Lumix has a history of prioritizing video. The GH series practically defined a generation of indie filmmakers globally. The video capabilities of S5 was exceptional, and the S5 II refined that direction. If Panasonic wants a natural home in India, it has to be with the video-first hybrid approach. I also want to say something about the camera culture argument. There is genuine value in having more choices available in a market, not just for the consumer, but for the ecosystem. When more cameras compete seriously, dealers pay attention, service centers get better, accessories become available, lens mounts get support. Right now, Indian camera market is essentially 2.5 brand conversation: Sony, Canon, and everything else. Nikon is slowly rebuilding its presence, Fujifilm occupies a passionate niche, and Lumix is there, kind of, if you look for it. A simple request. This isn't about one singular camera. It's about visibility. Panasonic is building practical, creator-focused hybrid cameras that deserve more attention, and India feels like a market where those cameras could work well. I don't know exactly how Panasonic India makes decisions. I don't know how their camera distribution works, or if their margins make it difficult, or if there's a restructuring happening inside. What I know is what it feels like from the perspective of someone who cares about cameras and someone who talks to other creators and hears the same things. It feels like Panasonic is doing interesting work that India isn't fully experiencing. That's a shame. The S5 II is a camera worth knowing about. So is the S9 and the GH7, because they represent a specific philosophy about what a camera should do, an attitude towards color and video that some creators will connect with deeply. These creators are waiting for an opportunity, and some of them are watching this video right now. They just need to be able to find the camera when they go looking for it. Maybe Panasonic India is listening, maybe they're not, but consider this my small case. We need more Lumix cameras in India because everyone deserves the chance to discover whether they love a Lumix. If you're curious about any of these cameras, I have left a few links in the description so you can at least see what's actually available right now. See you in the next one.